The Hiero by Xenophon, Part 2. Just quickly to summarize Part 1 for anyone that's forgotten what happened. Simonides the poet, Hiero the tyrant are having a discussion. Simonides says it's more fun to be a tyrant. Hiero says not really, it kind of sucks to be a tyrant. And a discussion ensues. Last one was mostly about love and sex. And I think this one's going to be more about war and security, but we'll see about that. Here we go. To these arguments, Simonides replied, "Yes, but the topics you have named are to my thinking trifles, drops, as it were, in the wide ocean. How many men, I wonder, have I seen myself, men in the deepest sense, true men, who choose to fare but ill in respect of meats and drinks and delicacies, aye, and what is more, they voluntarily abstain from sexual pleasures. No, it is in quite a different sphere, which I will name at once, that you so far transcend us private citizens. It is in your vast designs, your swift achievements, it is in the overflowing wealth of your possessions, your horses, excellent for breed and metal, the choice beauty of your arms, the exquisite finery of your wives, the gorgeous palaces in which you dwell, and those too furnished with the costliest works of art, add to which the throng of your retainers, courtiers, followers, not in number only, but accomplishments, a most princely retinue. And last but not least of all, in your supreme ability at once to afflict your foes and benefit your friends."
To all which Hiero made answer that the majority of men, Simonides, should be deluded by the glamour of a despotism in no respect astonishes me, since it is the very essence of the crowd, if I'm not mistaken, to rush wildly to conjecture touching the happiness or wretchedness of people at first sight. Now the name of tyranny is such, it presents, nay, flaunts a show of costliest possessions, unfolded to the general gaze, which rivets the attention. But the real troubles in the souls of monarchs it keeps concealed in those hid chambers where lies stowed away the happiness and the unhappiness of mankind.
I repeat then, I little marvel that the multitudes should be blinded in this matter, but that you, others also, you who are held to see with the mind's eye more clearly than with the eye of sense the mass of circumstances, should share its ignorance, does indeed excite my wonderment. Now, I know it all too plainly from my own experience, Simonides, and I assure you, the tyrant is one who has the smallest share of life's blessings, while of its greater miseries he possesses most. Boo-hoo-hoo.
For instance, if peace is held to be a mighty blessing to mankind, then of peace despotic monarchs are scant sharers. Or is war a curse? If so, of this particular pest your monarch shares the largest moiety of that. Okay. For
yeah,
look,
it's like moiety is like just, it's like your part or your share.
Oh, I learned a word today. Okay. For look you, the private citizen, unless his city-state should chance to be engaged in some common war, it is free to travel wheresoever he chooses without fear of being done to death, whereas the tyrant cannot stir without setting his foot on hostile territory. At any rate, nothing will persuade him, but he must go through life armed, and on all occasions drag about with him armed satellites. In the next place, the private citizen, even during an expedition into hostile territory, can comfort himself in the reflection that as soon as he gets back home, he will be safe from further peril. But the tyrant knows precisely the reverse. As soon as he arrives in his own city, he will find himself in the center of hostility at once. Or let us suppose that an invading army, superior in force, is marching against a city, however much the weaker population, whilst they are still outside their walls, may feel the stress of danger, yet once within their trenches, one and all expect to find themselves in absolute security. But the tyrant is not out of danger, even when he has passed the portals of his palace. Nay, there of all places most he feels he must maintain the strict strictest watch. Again, to the private citizen, there will come eventually, even through truce or terms of peace, respite from war, but for the tyrant, the day of peace will never dawn. What peace can he have with those over whom he exercises his despotic sway? Nor have the terms of truce been yet devised on which the despotic ruler may rely with confidence.
Wars, doubtless there are, wars waged by states and wars waged by autocratic monarchs against those whom they have forcibly enslaved. And in respect of these wars, there is no hardship which any member of the states at war can suffer, but the tyrant will feel it also. That is to say, both must alike be under arms, keep guard, run risks, and whatever the pains of defeat may be, they are equally sustained by both. Up to this point, there is no distinction. The bitters are equal. But when we come to estimate the sweets derivable from warfare between states, the parallel ceases. The tyrant, if he shares the pains before, no longer shares the pleasures now. What happens when a state has gained the mastery in battle over her antagonist? It would be hard, I take it, to describe the joy of that occurrence, joy in the rout, joy in the pursuit, joy in the slaughter of their enemies, and in what language shall I describe the exultation of these warriors at their feats of arms? With what assumption they bind on their brows the glittering wealth of glory, with what mirth and jollity congratulate themselves on having raised their city to newer heights of fame. Each several citizen claims to have shared in the plan of the campaign and to have slain the largest number. Indeed, it would be hard to find where false embellishment will not creep in, the number stated to be slain exceeding that of those that actually perished. So truly glorious a thing it seems to them to have won a great victory.
But the tyrant, when he forebodes, or possibly perceives in actual fact some opposition brewing, and puts the suspects to the sword, knows he will not thereby promote the welfare of the state collectively. The cold, clear fact is he will have fewer subjects to rule over. How can he show a cheerful countenance? How magnify himself on his achievement? On the contrary, his desire is to lessen the proportions of what he has taken place, as far as may be. He will apologize for what he does, even in the doing of it, letting it appear that he has wrought, at least was innocent. So little does his conduct seem noble even to himself. And when those he dreaded are safely in their graves, he is not one whit more confident of spirit, but still more on his guard than heretofore. That is the kind of war with which the tyrant is beset from day to day continually, as I do prove.
And that is the end of part 2. So in honor of tyrants, I put up a painting by King Charles III.
I did not know that King Charles III. Wait, this is the son of the guy who lost his head. Is that?
This is the current King of England.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the Restoration. Wasn't there a King Charles?
King Charles II.
Was it the Bourbon dynasty? No. You know what I'm talking about? The one that lost his head.
That was King Charles I.
Okay. Then his son was King Charles II.
Correct.
Okay.
Now it's King Charles III.
King Charles III. Gotcha. Okay.
But so that's
okay. Well, I guess King Charles. I never knew that Charles had been taking painting lessons.
Yeah, no. Apparently, he likes painting watercolors. So I think Hiero is just complaining that nobody likes him. It's a bit like defund the police, right? Nobody wants the police when they're being jerks, but everybody wants the police when something goes wrong. Hiero is pretty much saying when I have to be an asshole and keep order, everybody gets pissed at me and plots and schemes to kill me.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm not. Was he trying to get gives Simonides a glimpse of what it's like to be a monarch. I'm not sure if Simonides would be able to relate.
I don't think Simonides is buying it. I think Simonides is like, dude, you have like, smoking hot virgin wives, lots of cool dudes to hang out with, lots of great food, awesome parties. Your life's pretty good.
So are they have this like grass is greener on the other side from their perspective positions? So you have Hiero who has this, the grass is greener as just like a subject because you don't have these concerns, and Simonides is like, no, your grass is greener. And
it's I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think Simonides. I think Hiero is just whining here. I don't really feel like he's making a coherent point. I think he's just being kind of grouchy. But
I mean, is the are they trying to establish who is happier still?
yes. What is it better to be a tyrant or a poet?
And you had mentioned that they're not trying to establish who is happier because you mentioned in the last talk that the classical Greeks have a different idea of what happiness is. Or
yeah, they wouldn't have just. I mean, they want to. I think it's more it's a philosophical work, so the point is to explore the nature of power. But I don't think they're really worried about happiness in the way we are as moderns. I think they're more just kind of, they have this whole idea that the gods are in control and that your destiny and your fate is kind of handed to you, and you don't really have much control over what it is. It just sort of happens and works out, and some people are born slaves and some people are born kings. So that's kind of, it's just like they don't really feel like they have a lot of agency over their lives the way we do, right? Because we're like, oh, if you work hard, you can be anything you want. Like if you told a Greek that, the Greek would be like, yeah, no, I'm going to be washing dishes for the rest of my life. It's just how it is. Right?
So Hiero has to point out what is good in their life that they can't change, and then vice versa. Simonides has to do the same for someone who is in a better class, the people, and tell them, well, you should be happy for these things that you have that we don't have, and
you have cool stuff.
You have cool stuff, and Hiero says, well, you have
freedom,
or freedom from certain concerns,
right? Like being hacked to death in your sleep by some grumpy guy that you pissed off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're likely to live longer, even though you may be a subject, than a king. So,
I don't think that. I don't think there's much to say about this particular passage beyond, from my perspective, beyond that Hiero's kind of being whiny. But
yeah, I mean, he's kind of outlines what every monarch goes through throughout history. Like he always had to sleep with one eye open. I mean, that's it's true of CEOs too, right? You get CEOs get bumped off. Every agency I've worked in, a CEO has never lasted for more than 2 years max, and then they get.
That's kind of a game. Is you come in and but at least unlike Hiero, the CEO isn't murdered; he's just fired, and they write him a check.
Yeah, so that's not. So in that respect, I would take the position of Simonides. It's like, what are you complaining about? Yeah, no one ever hates your guts, but you get a golden parachute.
Well, maybe Hiero gets murdered though.
Are you like giving away the plot?
No, I'm just saying that. But a tyrant does run the risk of somebody killing him. I mean, kings get killed.
Yeah, kings get killed all the time, and I think it's important that we remind certain people, certain regimes, that kings get killed all the time. People forget that. Maybe there's some consolation. I'm guessing that people in certain regimes do sleep with one eye open. Yeah. So in that respect, people are not completely powerless because now you have the power to keep the king awake.
There you go. First, the king figures out it's you, he puts you to death. So, but then your brothers and cousins all gang up and try to avenge you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
can you comment a little on the prose of this dialogue? Because when was this translated?
Oh, 18 something. I mean, it's
okay,
old.
I figured because it reads like every other. The prose there is very that era.
Right. Well, it's also sort of like the Greeks style is a little like that too, right? The Greek's very flowery. So,
well, I wouldn't know, classical Greek and how common Greek is spoken, but it'd be interesting how if this dialogue was translated to French, for example, would it keep how much of this, like what we read, the words and adjectives, the construction of a sentence is word for word faithful, or an approximation of the actual Greek?
well, it's hard because the words in Greek don't mean the same as the words in English. So you often, when you start talking about things like even the word tyrant, right? I mean, we think of a tyrant as a bad guy, whereas the tyrant was more just a tough king. So it's just translations are kind of, they're, or you have 10 million footnotes, which then makes the thing sort of slow and cumbersome to read because then you have to think about every sentence. Yeah. And somebody has to explain I don't know, and then there's all these kind of, allusions and references to things that people would have taken for granted, like we would make an allusion to the subway,
mm-hmm.
but he would know what a subway is in modern America, right? But the Greeks wouldn't have no idea what a subway was.
Mm-hmm.
There's just allusions to stuff that everybody would have known that we have no idea that even existed.
Okay. I'm going back to the passage here. I'm looking at the footnotes, the one in parentheses. I was wondering if there's anything there that's worth pointing out.
Really, I mean, I think the person who wrote the footnotes is kind of just offering alternative translations.
Yeah. So he's just basically this is about telling Simonides, you don't know the weight of the administrative weight of being the responsibilities of being a king, and you're just a poet running around envying other people, and
right.
I'd be happy to swap place with you, but I can't, even if I want to.
Right, because I'm already
already
too far in here. I can't quit because I'll just get killed.
Yeah, but
rule or die is the expression.
I mean, there's nothing in there that would make anyone who's not in a station feel sorry for him.
Yeah,
but
all right. Well, mm-hmm. I don't think. Do you have anything else to say? I think we're sort of circling the same ideas here. I don't really feel like I have anything.
I think part 2 is very brief. I think we haven't really hit anything more interesting. So we could.
Well, stay tuned for part 3 then.
Part 3, yeah.
Okay.
Part 3 of 11.
See you.
Yeah, we're halfway there. People, just hang in there. Hang in there. I know this is you're getting a free education from Archon.
Right.
Graceland here. Appropriately named the Archon of Graceland.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.